All right, it's Ty here. We are about to learn not just speed reading, because people want to know speed reading, they ask me all the time, but smart reading. It's a new technique that I've been pioneering as I've worked with literally thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and even reaching millions of people now. So this is kind of a bonus thing that I wanted to do for so long. I'm glad that I've got the time to do. So you may have found me, some of you have bought books from me. You've seen my TED Talk on why I read a book a day and why you should too. Some of you are in the 67 steps system. You're in the investor entrepreneur mini MBA, learning how to grow a business, become an investor and entrepreneur. Some of you are in my invitation only inner circle. Everybody I come in contact with asks me almost always, how can I read more? I think all of us, you and I, both understand the intrinsic value that being able to take in the wisdom, knowledge, and experience of the world's smartest people, whether they be alive and too busy to meet with us in person, or whether they be dead, we still want to know what they know. And you will run into people that say, books aren't important. I suggest you ignore those people because there's no evidence that that's true. There is very little evidence, and there's a lot of evidence that almost every person who has an impact, who rises above the crowd, which I'm sure you aspire, just like me, to do, books has played an integral part, whether it be Einstein, Tesla, or Bill Gates. Taking in the knowledge of other people is what Richard Dawkins in The Selfish Gene calls simulation. And simulation is the most powerful tool, maybe the reason that we have such big brains. We have the ability to watch somebody else put their hand in the fire and get burned and go, I don't have to put my hand in the fire because I have a brain that tells me if I do the same thing that that person does, I'll get a result that I don't want. And we learn faster. If you want to shave decades off of your learning curve, because make no mistake, the average successful person takes 12 to 20 years, and many people take a lifetime. But if you ask them, they'll say, well, you know what? Half of that time was wasted doing things that I could have learned from other people. I always say, I remember I was in second grade, and I read a book, I can still vividly remember it for some reason, and it said, the world is round, not flat. And I never second guessed it. It was just a book. It was book knowledge. And I didn't have to prove it. It's like Sir Isaac Newton said, if I'm great, it's because I stand on the shoulders of giants. You must stand upon the shoulders of giants and not waste your life figuring out what already's been figured out. If I had taken my life and was on video here and said, guys, I spent the last 10 years of my life confirming and finding some amazing discovery out for myself. What I found out was the world's round, it's not flat. I went for years on a boat and I tried to get to the horizon. I never fell off. So I realized I could go all the way back to my starting point. I did complex math to prove the math, using angles that the world can't be flat. I went into outer space and looked down and I saw the world was clearly a three-dimensional orb, ball. It's round, guys. It's not flat. You would look at me and look at this video and go, that guy's an idiot. He wasted a decade learning, exploring, trying to prove what's already been clearly proven. And unfortunately, the reason most people don't get what they want out of life is they spend the majority of their life not simulating through the experience of other people, but trying to prove it themselves, making the mistakes themselves. What Dawkins says in that book is that trial and error. Trial is costly in terms of time, and too much error is deadly. You can die, whether it be your hopes and dreams, figuratively die, or your physical health. If you don't know stuff, there's tremendous pain associated with that ignorance. And so the upside, though, is that in a world of 7 billion people, of increasing complexity, I just read a book, Riveted, and I read another book, Where Good Ideas Come From. The pace of learning is growing so rapidly that the greatest skill you can have is the ability to get through new material quickly and remember it. Now, this course you're getting access to here is primarily about how to get through it. There's another mini course that I do on memory. This is enough here to handle. Focus on this for now, and you can, get access at another time to the full memory and recall. I will talk about how to increase your memory and recall of what you read in this course, but I've got some even more advanced stuff. But don't worry, just going through this right now, and if you follow what I've laid out, 6 or 7 techniques that you must follow, you will see that naturally the speed with which you read, the quality of books that you read, and the recall will all increase. And most importantly, we're not reading just to read. The quality of your life will go up. I'd like you to take 67 days, the next 67 days, and take a reading challenge. Follow what you're about to learn, and then answer back to me, because I've done this over and over, and without fail, everybody says, wow, this has revolutionized my health and understanding my body. I'll be in shape, lean, fit. This has revolutionized my bank account. This has revolutionized my social, love, friends, family, and romance. And my happiness is up from having understanding. Not only are you going to be the smartest person in the room, but that's not important. It's not about showing off. There's always someone smarter and someone dumber. But more importantly, you're going to become somebody that can improve your own life. And you'll be able to keep up with the pace of knowledge that's out there in the world today. The highly successful people in the world, for example, the most successful CEOs read on average a book a week, 50 books a year. If you go up the chain to the most successful people, just look on the Forbes list. Warren Buffett says he reads 8 hours a day now. Bill Gates, if you go to his personal site, it's basically a blog. That's literally how he wants to put himself out there, not as the Gates Foundation. I mean, he does do that, and the founder of Microsoft, but he's about books, and he shows you what he read. This is the same throughout history. Alexander the Great traveled with a library. He was personally mentored by Aristotle, but he conquered the world, and in great part, it was due to the mentality and those tricks of the trade that he learned with his traveling library and mentors. Now, hopefully you're not trying to conquer the world literally, but you are trying to find the good life, health, wealth, love, and happiness. You will need mentors. I call that the law of 33%. You will need people 10 to 20 years ahead of you. It's the pattern. Einstein had a mentor that he had lunch with every Thursday. Oprah Winfrey had 2 mentors. Bill Gates had a mentor. Warren Buffett had Benjamin Graham. Mark Zuckerberg had a mentor. Denzel Washington had Sidney Poitier. Mahatma Gandhi had a mentor. The Dalai Lama says Mahatma Gandhi was his mentor. It's a clear pattern of success. Unfortunately, all the great mentors, or many of the great mentors, are either too busy doing what they do to help you and I personally, or they're not alive anymore, or they live too far away. So that leaves us with books. Books not an end in and of themselves, but as a tool to get you health, wealth, love, and happiness. You're about to see a series of videos, and before I get into that, I want to give you the big picture right here. So this is kind of the jumpstart video to get you going, and then you can watch the rest of them, which will be step by step, a little bit more in depth. But the first thing to know is that book right there, I'm just picking a random one I've been reading, Jack Welch's book, Winning. I'm going to give you kind of all the components really fast, and then I'm going to explain them in the subsequent videos, right? I'm going to give you the big picture because I hate when people save all the good stuff for later. So the first thing is, what's my reading ritual? I have 3 reading rituals. I read morning, lunch, afternoon. I set intervals. I like 15 minutes in each interval. That's 45 minutes. I have a timer. I have my book. In the mornings, I read classic, The Soap of the Brain. At afternoon, I use it to take a nap. I read a how-to business relevant to my career or relative to my health. Something that gives me a tangible. The morning classics are more big picture philosophy. I get technique Then at night, I read biographies to help me go to sleep and to give me courage. We'll talk more about that in a second or in the next videos. Then I get the book. I have a certain amount of ingredients I have with each book. Obviously, the book is the first one. Secondly, where I'm sitting, I like to not sit, if at all possible. Daniel Lieberman, the Harvard professor, says sitting is not part of the natural physiology of the human body. So the best is to lay down, put your feet up, or that's my preferred technique, resting while my feet are up. So I got that set. I can't always do it because sometimes I eat at the same time. But when I can, like in bed for lunch, taking a nap, or at night, I put my legs up. Then I like to have a bookmark, and I use fancy stancy ones like this napkin that happened to me. I use whatever. Then I use a simple black pen so that I can just take notes. I take notes right in the book. Never be afraid, in my opinion. I write right here. I just circle the big concept, and occasionally, if it's amazing, I'll write a few words in my own words here. Then I also sometimes write the best stuff in the back, but we're going to get to more on how to do that. I'm just giving you the big picture. Okay, then I like my iPhone. If it's a great book, I'll buy it on my iBooks too, so that I can take my most important notes by highlighting them with my finger here, and then they're stored forever. So if I happen to lose the book, I'll have them here. That's optional. I'm just telling you what I do, okay? Then I have my timer on my iPhone. You can have any kind of timer, your Android or a real timer. I set it. I divide how many minutes I want to read per day. I like to read 45 minutes minimum a day, so I divide it in 3 intervals, 15 minutes a pop. I set that thing for 15 minutes. I've got this book. Boom. I've got parameters. Now for 1 or 2 seconds, I think, what's the end game goal of reading this book? Okay, I was reading this book because I wanted, like management. I needed I'm hiring a lot of people, so I go in there with intention and I go, I'll be good to just get one nugget. This guy, Jack Welch, built a company, added $400 billion in net worth to the market cap of GE. I'm not going to learn everything this guy learned in 40 years building a $500 billion net worth for a company in 15 minutes, but I can get one golden nugget. So then I start by the table of contents. I read the nuggets. I read the jacket. I want to know why I should trust Jack Welch. That unlocks the authority bias in your brain, so you'll learn faster. I read the jacket. I read what other people say. Then I start in after the table of content. I read the first chapter and the introduction. Sometimes they're one and the same. Sometimes there is no introduction. But I find the introduction, first chapter, and then I move to the last chapter. Then I come back to the table of contents and say, which chapter will most fulfill what I'm trying to get? In this case, it was learn about management, and I'll read 1 or 2 more chapters depending on how much time I have. Now, I do know how to speed read, but what you're learning now is what I call smart reading. There is a difference. So, as I go through this, I'm circling relevant things. I'm walking away with it, and I'm not afraid of FOMO. I go, you know what? It's okay. I got enough from this book. You're going to learn how to make a book one of your 150 friends. I talk about that in an upcoming video. I put this thing back on my shelf. I'm now mentally cataloged because I read the table of contents. I will remember if there's ever a time that I need to reread this book, if I need to get some knowledge, and if it's in my top 150, I'll come back and probably read this at least once a year. Okay? So you're about to learn, it's just the beginning, a whole bunch of counterintuitive things that unfortunately you and I were not taught in elementary school, junior high, high school, or university, and we're definitely not taught them as adults. And for that reason, we are held back more often than we realize by the available amount of knowledge that we have. So, I want you to unlock the next set of videos. Just answer this one question I have for you. What's the main goal you want to have from going through this little quick mini video series on how to read on smart reading? So just put it below. Maybe is to read 1 book a week or 1 book a month. It's to read a series of Get Better for University or to learn a new language. What's your one goal? Let's define it, and then let's go through the next videos. It won't take you long. and double down and invest in yourself. Knowledge, like Buffett says, the more you learn, the more you earn. The happier you will be, the healthier, wealthier, more love and more happiness you'll find. And it comes not just, as you're about to learn in the next video, just through book smarts, but it comes through instinctual building of skills, which comes from books, mentors, YouTube videos, audiobooks, seminars, in-person, internships, apprenticeships, all kinds of stuff. This is one of the tools in your tool belt, but remember, it's a powerful one, and one of the most underutilized in the world. You will rise above the crowd if you have this tool in your tool belt. All right, answer that question, what your goal is, and I will see you in the next video.